problems. The ones most people don't have the stomach for. The ones nobody talks about at cocktail parties. The ones that can't be solved. We go looking for them. In Loudoun, in Largo, and the seemingly docile suburbs of Washington, D.C., we find every dollar we can to address them. But we are more than the fundraisers. We are the hand raisers, the game changers. The stop talking, start doing band together and take on the impossible taskmasters. United, we face homelessness in the district. United, we stand up for middle school students in Silver Spring. United, we battle for veterans in Alexandria. United, we confront the struggles of the unbanked in Southeast. No matter the obstacles, no matter the odds, we surround our community's most critical problems and we fight. We fight for Ping Li. We fight for Daniel. We fight for Marianne and Kyle and Kim. We fight for those who need a voice and those whose names we do not know. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in the national capital community. Because change doesn't happen alone. Hope isn't a one-man band. And there's no such thing as self-taught or self-made. We have one life. To live better, we must live united.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning to employee campaign coordinators, campaign managers, and other key campaign volunteers to our Building a Successful Workplace campaign webinar, where hopefully today you'll learn some tips, some strategies, and other various approaches to helping you have a very successful workplace campaign this fall. I'm Jeff Brown with United Way of the National Capital Area, and we're glad that you're here today. And with us today, we have a great panel. First off, I'd like to introduce Tatiana Torres, who is the Director of Community Affairs at Care First. Also with us is Allison Solomon, Manager of Corporate Citizenship at Deloitte, and Vadim Pogosov, who's also in the Community Affairs Division at Care First. Thank you all very much for being here with us today. Now, what you're going to learn today are some, as I mentioned, some tips, some strategies to help you with your campaign. These people have run very successful campaigns in the past, and I just kind of want to go through a progression of a normal campaign. What you do at the very beginning, how you launch a campaign, what you do once it starts, and then how you wrap it up and how you thank your donors. So I'm going to start with you, Allison. Now I understand one of the key things when it comes to having a campaign is getting executive leadership involved. Why do you think that's so important?
Yeah, no, great question, Jeff. So I think having your leadership involved in the campaign from the beginning, it really sets the tone. It shows that the campaign is something important, that it's a part of your company culture, and really is just the pace setter for the rest of the campaign.
What are some of the initial things you have executive leadership do at the beginning of the campaign?
Yeah, so everything from a campaign kickoff messaging coming straight from our market CEO's mailbox. We had our CEO last year record a message talking about the campaign, explaining how it aligns to other important initiatives that Deloitte does in the community. And we also make sure to involve not just our CEO level, but all levels of leadership in the firm to really encourage that authentic buy-in from the top.
So, besides the kickoffs and the original, the initial things, once the campaign is rolling along, are they still involved? How do you keep them engaged?
Oh, absolutely. So I think it's still, of course, messaging and marketing from, again, that CEO level mailbox or being present at different events. Our market CEO attended several of our workshops and panels throughout the course of the event, and also did a campaign close event with our office.
Tatiana, now that you have executive leadership buy-in, what's your next step? What do you do next when it comes to creating a campaign?
I think, Jeff, one of the most important things that you can do is making sure that you have diversity in your campaign. So who are the individuals that we're trying to engage? And I want to share 2 data points with you on this in terms of diversity of age, gender, race. In 2007, Forbes published an article that talked about millennials revolutionizing the importance of volunteering and giving. And in 2015, the Associated Press put out a poll that stated that 3 out of 10 Americans, so 29%, were millennials that found it as an obligation to give back to their community. That's a 10% increase from 1987. So with that being said, I think there's a group of people that sometimes in a campaign that when we're trying to initially engage, we forget is the younger people. Those that may not be in leadership, those individuals that might not be as forward in speaking, but they are a good group of millennials that find volunteerism and giving as a priority and as an obligation. And I think that's important to make sure that when we're trying to start off a campaign, we have the buy-in from not just millennials, but all through the company, but we can't forget that young people want to be involved as well.
So the new workforce, your new employees, they might not be familiar with just what a United Way campaign or a workplace giving campaign is. How do you first reach out to them and let them know what this is all about?
I think in terms of the younger workforce, one of the, I guess, obvious ways would be through social media. I think that emails are great, but we all get our inboxes inundated with them, right? So I think that social media is something that we've done by engaging our younger associates and the younger workforce to say, hey, this is important, and making sure it's Twitter, it's Instagram, making sure that there's video, that there's some sort of interactive IT attached to the campaign, and making sure that people are engaging on that platform as well.
Well, thank you. Vadim, what's the next step after that?
I think the next step would probably be to identify a campaign plan. And I think identifying a campaign plan is all about being proactive. And by that, you're going to set goals which are measurable. You're also going to familiarize yourself with the United Way campaign tools that'll help you measure those goals and track your goals throughout the campaign. What you'll also do to be proactive is you'll identify a timeline of events, a kickoff event, or an event to welcome a United Way representative to all of the sites that you have within your company. And these events always help promote the campaign. And also what you'll do is you'll identify key folks at each site, because you can't always be everywhere. Associates who will help you with setting up these events and welcome the folks from United Way and the nonprofit community to the sites to promote the campaign in person.
You talked about goals. How do you come up with your achievable, measurable goals? When you're setting the goals, what are you thinking?
Yeah, you're thinking about the culture of a company. Specifically, you're thinking about the culture of all the different individual sites. We have several sites within our company. Deloitte and Allison, they probably have thousands of sites throughout. And so really incentivizing each site and the culture of that particular location is key, the culture of that specific site.
That's true.
No, I agree. The culture is very important, because there's some organizations where a CEO is perfectly willing to go in a dunking booth, but others where you wouldn't even raise that question up.
Right.
But so that's one of the very first steps, is to say, okay, this is who we are. What are our parameters when it comes to having events and different initiatives during our campaign?
Absolutely.
Allison, we've talked about getting leadership involved, and you mentioned how you have them do videos and emails and letters and what they do during the campaign. But a leadership giving program, how does that work at Deloitte? I've heard they are very involved with the Tocqueville Society.
Exactly, yes. So we use the Tocqueville Society program as a way to incentivize our more senior leaders in the firm to network and to be able to expose themselves to others in the private sector through that leadership giving campaign. And we make sure that they're getting recognized for participating at that leadership level. We do a Tocqueville Society event every year to welcome new donors to the program, but also to recognize those who have been a part of the Tocqueville Society for many years. So it's definitely something from the top down, and that our leaders appreciate about our campaign.
And can you speak a little bit more about how the new donors are recognized? How do you recognize them?
Yeah, so our new donors to Tocqueville, again, are invited to to the event that I had mentioned. This typically happens in the spring so that we can continue involving our United Way donors throughout the year. But then we also make sure to recognize new donors at any given level, which I think is important because you really want to cultivate those donors within your company, and really not just assume that because somebody had participated once that they, we want to make sure that they come back and that they continue to participate in campaigns, down the road. So that I think that new donor recognition is really important to continue, engaging and amplifying the importance of the campaign.
And I also understand Deloitte has micro campaigns. What's a micro campaign?
Yeah, so like Vadim was saying, since our office is rather spread out and we have multiple offices, especially in this market and all across Deloitte US, one of the things that we have found to be effective is to continue decentralizing the campaign and making it more authentic to where meet employees where they are. So some of our micro campaigns involve different business lines within Deloitte, and we provide sort of all of the kind of tools and techniques that we've talked about at a macro level, just to these smaller lines of business. So we offer them incentives and different events, and really give them kind of a lot of leadership and flexibility to run a miniature campaign with a smaller set of employees. And I think that targeted approach has been really effective, again, in that donor cultivation process.
So basically, when we talked about identifying your culture of your company, this is even taking it to another level, to different divisions and different locations as well.
Exactly. And I think from a campaign strategy perspective, identifying where you'll have the most sort of bang for your buck and the most ROI in terms of what that micro campaign would look like is helpful. I mean, we identified really large business segments that would still, again, bring that authenticity of the campaign home. So we're not talking about micro campaigns of 10 or 20 employees. These were still about 500 or so employees, but again, that message is still authentic because it's coming from their own business line leader versus just our CEO, where it may get feel a little bit more too top heavy. So really, again, meeting those employees where they are.
Excellent. Vadim, how do you let people know about the campaign? How do you market the campaign?
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, having sort of identified a timeline of events and how you're going to run it, you need to promote it. And so now, having set up the times for events, you are going to promote it, and you're going to rely on your associate communications department. That's a big team that's a big factor that helps in that they communicate throughout different methods to associates throughout the company. For example, if associate goes to the homepage, which is oftentimes the first thing that an associate pulls up when they turn on their computer or laptop or whatever, and they'll see promotion of the campaign as the first thing that day. So having that buy-in and engagement from your communications team is absolutely huge. And that goes back to campaign planning, and that goes back to being proactive and getting that buy-in.
You mentioned the homepage, so obviously you're using your website to promote. Are there any other technological resources you use?
Yeah, absolutely. You'll want to do email blasts throughout the campaign. You want to remind people that on this day at this time, you'll have folks coming in from your nonprofit community that really make a difference in your community. They'll be on site, so you'll have face-to-face time with these really vital organizations that serve your community. So email blasts are very, very important. And then social media is huge. As Tatiana talked about with the millennials, they're always on their phones. And whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or even your Twitter, you're able to now use all of those tools to promote giving in your campaign. So use those tools. That is absolutely vital. They're there at your disposal. And again, it goes back to being best friends with your communications team during the month of United Way. So that is huge.
Do you ever incorporate an element of volunteerism into your marketing plans?
Yeah, definitely. We incentivize, one of the incentives at Care First is a day of service. And what we do is we set a goal for each division in the company that if a percentage of the folks in that division give at a certain level, they'll earn a day of service. And a day of service is an opportunity to go out for an entire day, if they choose, and volunteer for an organization of their choice. They can do this as a team. They can do this on their own time, individually. But that's been a huge help in incentivizing our folks to give and to attend events.
Well, that leads into something else, and maybe Tatiana, you can talk about this more in depth, but in the old days, a United Way campaign, somebody would knock on your door in August and say, hey, it's about time for campaign season. They'd drop off pledge forms, brochures, posters, lend a hand throughout the campaign, and then show up again in the end of November around the holiday time and thank them, and you wouldn't see them again until the following August. Well, those days are over.
Very much so.
As I can speak on behalf of the United Way of National Capital Area, a campaign is just a part of our partnership with our corporate partners. We have year-round engagement now where we want to offer other volunteer aspects into your business, provide other opportunities, and we want to be there and talk to you about your needs. What are some of the things you do on a year-round basis that maybe can tie back to the campaign?
So Jeff, that's really great, and I have to say that for the National Capital Area, we have worked very closely with your team. Like you indicated, the day of dropping off flyers and saying, well, have a great campaign, are very, very much over. I think that we, constantly being able to just engage with you and the United Way National Capital Area team, knowing what's happening, making sure that we get the support that we need as the campaign goes along has been so valuable to us. Not only around the campaign, but also around volunteer opportunities, like we just said. For example, we are thrilled and excited that CareFirst will be participating in the Project Homeless Connect here in the National Capital Area on September 20th at the DC Armory. For us, that is an opportunity that we have to say to our associates, hey, even before the campaign begins, we want to make sure you know that there's volunteer opportunity that impacts your community. And I think that's the one thing that we all have to understand and recognize, that the United Way is a community impacting organization, right? It impacts beneficiaries, it impacts other members of the community or other organizations. And I think that's crucial to the mission of the United Way and to the mission, our community mission as well. So being able to offer opportunities where our associates can go and actually work side by side the United Way, such as Project Homeless Connect, it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. And it's something that happens because many of our beneficiaries through the United Way, the people that we fund, are connected to you as well.
And volunteerism is such a great way to get people hands-on exposure to an organization, and so they know it's not just a name. I'm doing what they do. I'm helping them with their mission, and they take that back with them and say, "Wow, I didn't realize they did this," and it's a great thing. Let me follow up with. We've talked about getting executive leadership. We have our plan in place. We're ready to go. A campaign launch. What's the most important thing about a successful campaign launch?
Making sure leadership is present. I think it's super important. Making sure that you have buy-in from the top and that they're present. Making sure that organizations that are beneficiaries of the United Way are also present to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why this is so important. Communicating that it's a launch would probably be very crucial and helpful as well. Making sure that people know that this is happening. Sometimes we get so inundated with emails, right, into our inboxes, and it's pretty hard to try to figure out, to sort through that. But making sure that people know that it's everywhere, that we're launching, that we're doing this. And I think, like you had said, a message from the CEO is always something that we've done as well, is always crucial. Making sure that all levels in the company know that this is happening, and going face to face. It's not just sitting and also tweeting, which is very, very important, but it's making sure that verbally people are getting that message across divisions, that executives and directors in their divisions are carrying that message. It's constantly making sure that the message is flowing, that this is happening, that we're doing this. And I think one flyer won't cut it, right? It's got to be broad messaging. And that's why I agree with Vadim. It's so important to work with your communications and marketing folks. They will be your best friends during this whole entire campaign.
Now, I understand CareFirst has some kind of a leadership breakfast. Can you speak? What is that?
Yeah, we do. So we invite the leadership of the company to come, have access to see our CEO. Our CEO is very much present, and talk about the Tocqueville Society as well. But it's leadership based, and it's open up to the whole entire leadership company. the leadership of the company. Sorry. So yes, it's important to do that. It's important when your CEO is engaged because it drives the whole entire campaign to another level.
Indeed, indeed. And at the beginning of our program here, we showed a United Way campaign film, and so you know that will be available to all campaigns. They can show it at events. They can put it in emails. They can put it on their website. So it's out there for people to use. And also, use me and our other members of our team. Have us. We're more than happy to come out and speak at your a launch, a mid-campaign rally to a small division, and let people know what the United Way is doing. And when you'll hear me say we. And when I say we and I mention United Way, I'm not talking about myself and the person in the cubicle next to me or the person that works in my office. I mean all of us. We together are making a difference. We are the United Way, and that's the beauty of it. And that's why we're so happy to come out and speak and be a part of your campaign launches.
I think one thing that's important as well is the affinity, associate employee affinity groups, right? I think that's super important to get. We call them ARGs, so associate resource groups. Some companies call them ARGs. Getting those groups too to send out the message, because they have smaller people that are part of the groups that they talk to that are targeted, and getting the associate resource groups involved, it's crucial. I think it's another layer of getting out the message internally within the company.
Yeah.
Now, one element of a kickoff or a launch or starting things rolling is a direct ask. Why is that such a critical part of this procedure?
Because I think if you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes you just have to make the ask directly, and have to tell people we need this. We are looking for your donation. We're looking for your help. We're looking for your time, or you're looking for your treasure. I think you have to make a direct ask. You can't assume that people will give. You have to directly go to them and say, hey, we need your help with this. I think that's very important. To be clear, to be honest, to be direct is crucial.
Well, the old adage is, people say, I didn't give because I wasn't asked.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the big parts about starting a campaign.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You're asking them. Allison, that campaign's up. We've had our kickoff. We're rolling along. What do you do to keep building awareness and building momentum throughout the campaign?
Yeah, definitely. You got to keep that momentum going. And I think, we've talked about some of the different types of events or other things, especially, throughout the year that you're doing about the campaign. But I think one of the things that we always put together in our campaign plan is just to have a variety of different ways to engage our employees throughout. So it may be a workshop or a panel where we've had United Way or other beneficiary organizations come in and speak about the importance of what United Way does in the community. Or we'll do something that's more fun and networking. Last year we raffled off some Lady Gaga tickets, and it was really fun and just an impactful way to get more of our employees incentivized and engaged, and also aligned to some of our other programs. We are also involved with actually Lady Gaga's nonprofit Born This Way Foundation, and so it was a good way to kind of align those two efforts, and something that's important to us again year-round in the community as a part of this campaign. So,
and have any of you all had, sometimes they're called charity fairs, sometimes they're called agency fairs, where a group of 10 to 20 nonprofits will come out and table at your organizations? Have you done any of that?
Yeah, those are absolutely crucial. We find we do them every year. We let sort of folks at each site pick organizations that they'd like to invite, because they'll know what resonates with the folks at that site. And we found them to be extremely successful. And thanks to United Way of the National Capital Area, which often makes the ask and comes in with the nonprofits, it all sort of ties the campaign together. And I'll give you an example. We've had Mary Center for Maternal and Child Care on site once, and there was a young lady who was an associate, and she shared a story about how Mary Center helped her when she didn't have health insurance, and she had a child on the way, and the services that they provided to her at the time were absolutely critical for her to have her child and to be a successful mom. And having the Mary Center rep on site, she was able to come up to them, she was able to thank them, and she said, you know what, Vadim, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to make my pledge, and I'm going to designate my pledge to Mary Center. Thank you for reminding me that this organization was there for me when I was in need. So again, having that face-to-face interaction with the organizations that benefit from giving is really, really important.
Well, I like the element of having your employees choose the nonprofits that are going to participate. And I think it's, this is something that can be used at a kickoff or a rally or whatever, is to have an employee, if they're willing, to give a testimonial saying, I was helped, or my daughter or my mom or whoever it may be was helped by this organization. It really puts a personal touch on an event like that, going, I didn't realize that Joe had that problem and he got help through this. It's a very nice tip about having employees choose something that's their passion being there.
I mean, most people we know have a particular cause that they identify with.
Right.
Maybe a family member is going through a particular illness and they feel a particular affiliation for that cause. So that's absolutely crucial.
And also these charity fairs, agency fairs, whatever you care to call them, the beauty is not only are you learning about potential charities, nonprofits that you can donate to, but you never know. If you come to one of these and you find an organization that does something, boy, I could use that, or I know my neighbor could use it. It's building awareness, and also maybe I'd like to volunteer there. I didn't realize you were just down the street from me. My kid needs a X number of hours for service projects. These fairs are more than just a way to have people donate to their organizations. It shows what this is all about.
That's right.
So Vadim, at the end of everything, why is it so critical for a thank you to be offered?
Sure. I think thank yous are absolutely critical in that it shows associates that their contributions, their pledges are appreciated, not just by the nonprofit community, but by the United Way. But really, to be smart in thanking, you really should be thanking folks throughout the campaign. It could be something as simple as a pledge pin. Associates love to show the fact that they've given. They'll wear their pledge pin every day, and that becomes a walking campaign promotion for you. For folks who haven't given, this is a reminder that, hey, you haven't given yet, you don't have your pledge pin yet. So, so that also, a smart way to thank people also helps you promote the campaign as well. You'll do ice cream socials throughout the month, and sort of, again, this visibility of the campaign is sort of perpetuated by having those events on site. And again, associates love to feel appreciated for their benevolence, for giving. Absolutely.
Allison, how do you thank your coworkers?
Yeah, I think the thing that I would just add to that, besides those really wonderful practices that Vadim was talking about, is we do some personal recognition as well, and personal thanking. Usually about once a week throughout the course of our campaign, who all the new donors were that week, and making sure that they get a personal message from our campaign team, thanking them for their donation.
And I thought you had told me that the Lady Gaga tickets, the person got to go with your CEO
That's
to the
correct.
concert.
Yeah, so our winner was able to go with our market CEO to the concert, which was just again another good way, I think, to recognize participation in the campaign. Yeah.
No, it gets leadership involved as well.
Right.
And other things I've heard is that some organizations have a lunch. They do a drawing of people that participated in the campaign. They get to have a lunch with the CEO, or they get his or her parking spot for the week. Just fun ways. And once again, it all goes back to your culture. But I think most executive leadership would be happy to participate in that way. And to bring executive leadership back one last time into this is when they speak, when they come to an event, it's going to draw people because they don't get to see these people. Right. Maybe they see them passing in the hall or in an elevator, but they actually get to see them. Maybe they get to shake their hand and introduce themselves afterward. It's just a good way to get more people to come to the event and in essence, build awareness.
Absolutely.
So to the audience out there, if you have any questions, please send them in. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have. We've touched on some interesting things. We've taken you from the beginning to the thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions. I have a couple questions to follow up on this. the Lady Gaga concert. How did you? I mean, I keep
Jeff,
going
you're
back.
very interested in this Lady Gaga concert.
I saw her. She popped out at a Tony Bennett show. I saw her a couple of weeks ago, and so she's been on my mind ever since. How did you promote that? How did you let people know about that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I think one of the things that was a success about that particular incentive is that it aligned to other things that we were doing throughout the year. So not only was it not the first time that our employees had heard about United Way and particularly the campaign, but it was actually not the first time that they had heard about us doing something in conjunction with an affiliation of Lady Gaga. We do work with her Born This Way Foundation, promoting kindness and respect in our workplace. It's actually a campaign that we have launched from the leadership platform. And so it was just a natural fit. And I think that whether it's something that's fun like a Lady Gaga concert or anything else that you want to do with your event, can't emphasize enough that authenticity, that culture, and that personalization, it needs to be something that makes sense, even at an incentive level, for the way that your company runs throughout the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of you incorporated you wear jeans for the day,
yes.
or a jersey of your favorite team,
That's
kind of a thing?
Oh yeah, we do Jean Day at Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield is like the best thing that we can do for our associates, right? So everyone is very excited for Jean Day.
Yeah.
So if a certain division meets a certain giving goal or participation goal, you have a Jean Day. And people love that. It's so surprising to me how engaged all of a sudden you can offer them, I don't know, a TV, and then they're like, okay. But then you offer a Jean Day, and everyone wants to participate, wants to engage. So I think Jean Day.
Jean and Jersey days, where
are,
our campaign takes place in November, so football is on, and people love sort of, a little bit of trash talk in the office where they get to wear their jersey and somebody else wears another jersey. So that competitive aspect kicks in. But again, to also tie this into communication, you're promoting all of these incentives via communications, and associates see that, so incentivizing continuously throughout the campaign with different raffle prizes, whether it's Jean Days or Lady Gaga tickets, is going to go a long way in helping you have a successful campaign, I think.
I think another thread through what we've talked about, because we keep saying people love it, people are excited, is that feedback collection. I think, especially in this mode now of trying to really run a campaign throughout the course of the year and not just hit people in the fall, being able to collect feedback and data points about what was successful about your campaign and learn from that, to really tailor some of the things, whether it's incentives or events, is critical too. And so we collect feedback throughout the campaign. We're able to do different data analysis around messaging that we do, communications that we do, but then also that qualitative feedback from events is really important.
Well, we have a question here. Do you do any other fun activities? And I think what they're asking is, are there any kind of cornhole, office Olympics, ice cream thing, any cake, and you name it? Do you guys anything
Definitely.
like that?
Yeah,
a
definitely.
little more healthy than cake. At least from the healthcare side, right?
Yes.
Care First.
Understood.
I'm thinking back to a few years ago when food trucks were still sort of a novelty in DC.
Right.
And we're in an area where there's a number of them that converge during lunchtime, and it was a big sort of deal at that time with associates. Everybody was excited about new lunch options, all these food trucks, because we've never had them before. So we talked to a number of food trucks, and we had a food truck fair where we bought a few gift certificates, and we started saying, hey, if you give on this day, you'll be entered into a drawing for basically free lunch, and we had a number of them offered. So it's really about, again, goes back to what works at that particular company, at that location. So think about what gets your associates excited. What's a hot item ticket that might work? What's everybody talking about right now? Are they talking about a coming concert? Are they talking about a new food truck or whatever it might be? Or maybe there's a big popular Christmas sort of a for kids, a toy that's really hot. So think about those things and use them to incentivize and create excitement around the campaign.
Yeah, use your local partnerships as well. Like, who are the teams that Care First works with? For example, sports teams. So how can we partner up with them to be able to give back to our associates? Like maybe there's 2 tickets in a suite, you know, that they're willing to donate for the United Way, and that our associates can attend. So partnering with other with sports teams or other corporate partners, as you had mentioned before, I think is super important.
Now, this is kind of an odd question on the surface, but I think you'll see where I'm going with it. Is there a particular day of the week that you find better to have an event? Because with teleworking and stuff like that, does that play into your planning?
Yes, absolutely. For us, Tuesday or Wednesdays. Definitely not Mondays, definitely not Fridays. And Thursdays depends what I would probably stick to Tuesday or Wednesdays. My personal opinion and experience.
For our business, a lot of our employees are traveling to their client sites all around the country, and so for us it's a little bit opposite. It's Thursdays or Fridays, because that's when our employees are more likely to be in the office, to be here in DC, and not out, you know, with their clients at a different geography.
Yeah, and that's where sort of empowering folks at different sites who are more familiar with what's going on.
Right.
Maybe there's a certain division at a particular site that tends to work at home on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you'll want to stay away from those days because you definitely want to maximize the exposure of any particular event that you have.
And I think we also think about days of the week for messaging too. I think no one really wants to see this kind of ask first thing Monday morning when they're just kind of getting their week together. So think about that too as you're making your communications plan.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just the events, but I think everything kind of needs to make sense and be appropriate for where your employees are spending their day too.
Right.
So once again, the culture word comes back into play.
Yeah.
Depending
Need to know
on
your culture.
what kind of an organization you are, these things,
Matter.
they really do matter.
And your communications folks will tell you, you want to send this email out now? Probably not a good idea.
Right.
Just use their knowledge of that.
Lean on them.
And lean on them,
know the
and they'll tell you
metrics.
exactly when to do things
Yeah.
as well.
Have any of you ever done any kind of a Halloween-themed campaign event?
Ours starts right after Halloween, so
It doesn't come into play.
unfortunately, or maybe luckily, we haven't had to.
We haven't done Halloween, but like I mentioned, because Veterans Day has always fallen right between, usually in the middle about of our campaign. We make sure, because veterans issues are important to our corporate citizenship portfolio, to have some type of event, or like I said, last year it was a panel where we invited a speaker from United Way along with some other veterans issue-oriented organizations to come and speak just about what was going on with the community and how important the United Way campaign is for veterans giving and some of the work that United Way is doing in this space. And I think it's a natural fit when you can find things on the calendar that also align with your campaign. So Halloween's a great idea, but we've done not that, but something with Veterans Day.
Yeah, it's this whole theme thing. And the fall offers a lot. Veterans Day, football season,
Yes.
Halloween,
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving,
right.
a giving
Definitely
period of
Thanksgiving,
time.
yeah.
There's a lot of ways to incorporate these different kind of themes and make it fun. I mean, that's really what the best part about your job is you're making it fun. You're putting on your thinking cap. How are we going to make this entertaining for everybody and make people aware of what's going on?
And make sure people know the reason why you're doing what you're doing, right? There's a reason why we're donating. We're having all these meetings, all these engaging. It's the community. It's really people that need help. It's people that, it doesn't matter if it's Christmas or holiday or whatever it might be, these people need support. Our community needs us. And as a corporate presence in the city and in the region, we take this very seriously. Like, what are we doing for the people, the residents of our community? What are we doing for those families in our community? What are we doing to impact their lives, to improve their lives, to make sure that there's a next year that's coming that will be better for them than last? So I think that through all these activities and all these games and giveaways, I think you can never lose sight of the key message, which is you got to serve people around you. You got to make sure that the community stays in the center of that message, that you're giving back locally. It's not just some far away, not, giving over there. They need help. No, we need help. No, we are here to support our community and making sure that for this amount of time, we are giving back from what we've received. And I think that's a crucial message and something that we all have to keep in mind.
Well, you mentioned the message, and we'll go back to marketing for a second. And you've talked about thing on the website and email blast and social media, and I don't want to say old school, but the back before these avenues were available, we had posters and brochures. Do you still use posters or brochures, and
Yes.
how do you make them a part of the?
We just make them bigger. We make them bigger, and we make sure that they're on, for us in our, in one of our DC offices, we make sure that they're on every floor. And as soon as people get off the elevator bank, there's a poster there that says, hey, United Way. We make sure that people have, that the team captains that we have in other buildings and other locations are making sure that their posters and their flyers are also being posted everywhere. So yes, it's about social media, and we kid around, and most of the time we're serious that we're very much hooked to our phones. But people are also visual, right? And you need that, those posters. And I think I don't think that's something that any of us at our companies would take away, I think.
Right. And I think the other thing with that kind of more static advertising of the campaign too is it's not just employees coming in and out of your office, so it lets the community know, and clients or other entities coming into your office, that this is important to your company's culture. Right. And they're not seeing the emails that you're sending out about the campaign, but they may see that lobby sign, when they walk in and say, oh, okay, this company cares about its community, they're participating in the United Way campaign. Maybe that's something my company should be doing, or maybe I can bring that back home to wherever I'm working. Yeah,
we meet with nonprofit partners all the time, and when they come through our building and they see United Way campaign, they get excited because they're part of the network of the nonprofits that benefit. So they're very, very happy to see that. And I think it goes back to strategic thinking a little bit about the plan. You want to place posters in areas where folks are always in. If you're going to have campaign events, make sure that they're at places which sort of centralize foot traffic, and maybe do them during lunch, because a lot of people, you have a cafeteria where a lot of people will be going through, so you'll be right in front of the associates already. Creates for a natural conversation.
Well, you mentioned visual, and the film we saw at the head here, I don't know if this applies to your organizations or can be done, but maybe for somebody out there watching us today, this could be something they can do. You go to some office buildings and they have monitors in the elevators, or they have monitors in their cafeteria. If possible, this film would be available to be able to put on those as well. So it's just another way to let people know, hey, the campaign's going on, and this is what you're producing when you're a part of it.
I would agree.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to bring up while we're here? We still have a little bit of time, and I'm happy to keep this rolling along. I want to address the people that are watching out there. I want to say 2 words to you. Thank you. Thank you for all that you're about to undertake. It really is making a difference. Your efforts are vital to our community, as Tatiana says. People, a lot of times, I'd like to say there's nothing bad about charitable giving, but if there is a downside, if you really had to look, it's because a lot of times you don't see the recipient. You are giving a leap of faith, knowing this organization, United Way, whatever it may be, is going to do good work. One of the benefits in my job is I get to see a lot of the recipients, and it is a great part of my job. But to the ones that don't, I want to say they're out there. They're next to you on the metro train. They're in front of you getting a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. They're in the cubicle next to you. Because people participate in this campaign, because people are part of the United Way, they're making differences. And it's a wonderful thing. And all that you guys do, those 2 words apply as well. Thank you very, very much.
Most welcome. Thank you for the support that we get from you to be able to carry out these campaigns as well.
Yeah, critical.
Couldn't do it without the support that the United Way gives us as campaign leaders and our companies. So we're very thankful as well.
Well, that's, if the people watching today, if they take away only one thing from this whole panel discussion, it's that the United Way, we're here to help. We're here to help in many ways, not just obviously in the community, but with your campaigns. We're every step of the way. You need anything, we pick up the phone and we're there. I think you can testify on that.
Absolutely. We absolutely can.
So I don't think we have any more questions. So I think maybe we'll wrap things up for the day.
Thank
so
you.
Tatiana, Allison, Vadim, thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for all you do for your campaigns and for all you're doing for the people in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
And-
See you after.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, we will. This webinar will be archived. You please feel free to share it with coworkers. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. We'll have a follow-up with an email. I'll be happy to speak, or one of my colleagues will be happy to give you a call back and help you in any way possible. Thank you very much for being here today. And everybody, it's Thursday, but have a great weekend. It's
Thank
coming
you.
soon enough. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.